Welcome to Quilt 101. I'm Wendy and my daughter Emily, and we are here to teach you our pattern today, which is the Twisted 9. So today's video is on the Twisted 9 quilt, which you can see right behind us. What you get in your kit is going to be everything you need and cut. So there's squares cut, and you're going to have your backing, your binding, your background color, which is the white on this one. Sorry, we're always picking up threads on quilts everywhere. I know. And this is called the accent. So you've got your main print, your accent, and your background, and that will all be in your kit, and it'll be labeled so you know what is what. So this quilt is made out of a block that you put together. And what's fun about this quilt is it looks way more complicated than what it is. So people think that you've done a lot of piecing, and you really haven't. So we're going to show you how cool this block is to put together. So the first step you're going to do, and Emily has started, is you are going to make a 9-patch square. So 3 across and 3 down. Your prints are going to stay in the corners. Your accent fabric, which is the gray on this quilt, is going to go in the middle. Your background is going to go, which is the white. The background is going to go, well, you can see here as she's putting it together.
Yep, so we just have the prints on the outside corners, the accent in the middle, and the rest are white.
And you don't need to worry direction-wise how the print is, because we're going to twist these blocks during the making of the quilt, so things get turned. You know, this one got turned, so it doesn't matter. And these kind of quilts, it goes all over. That's what's fun about it. All right, so this is the 9-patch. Your prints on the corner, your accent in the middle, and your whites filling the other slots.
Like the middle,
yeah,
outside middle.
So I personally like to just lay a block out next to the sewing machine and then just sew it. So you're going to take, just put your right sides together. I just kind of go along like this, and I just kind of grab them. There's one.
Nope, gotta find, there we go.
Here's 2. You want to kind of make sure they stay squared up as you sew them. So if it makes you more confident, just put a pin in it or a couple pins to keep it squared up. And there's the 3rd one. You're going to love this. This is the coolest block ever. I love the Twisted 9, and you can do so many things with this Twisted 9. All right. So I just kind of lay them back down so I remember how I had them. Oops. That one goes there. Don't do any pressing yet. Okay, now I'm just going to flip this one over like this. We got that one, and that one. So sew those. Make sure the iron is on. Yep. Woo! There we go. That a little bit closer. There's that one.
Thank you. All right, I'm done with these.
Okay. So for me, I like to lay them back out.
There you go.
Once you get doing a couple blocks, you really won't need to. So the ironing on this quilt goes to the print and then to the middle. So whenever you see a print and you have to iron in this quilt, always iron towards the print. So we are going to go in the middle here and hold this side up. Give that a little press there and press to the print here. So there's one. The middle one is going to go to the middle block, the accent block. So you press this way, and we're doing this because we want the seams to nest. And we'll show you that here in just a second. All right, we got that one. And we're going to do this one to the print. So we go this way, and then we go this way. All right. So if you want to lay those back down, Emily.
Yep.
There's that one. There's that one. And then I flipped that one. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so now we're just going to sew these
Yep,
together.
now you're going to sew the rows together. And the reason why we ironed them the way they did was because we want them to nest. And she's too quick for me. She already grabbed the row, so I'll show you as soon as she's done. So as you sew it, you want to look ahead and make sure that seam is nested. If you're not confident, again, pin at those seams so it keeps it nice, it keeps it together for you. And I'll show you on this next one.
I want to make sure that this one was... That works.
Yep, that looks good.
Okay.
Okay, so when you flip it over, this one we ironed this way to the accent, this one we ironed this way to the print. And that allows the seams to nest together. So maybe it's hard to see that on film, but it helps it to lay nice and flat.
Yeah.
And I would suggest just putting a couple pins in. So put a pin where the seams nest together, and that'll just help you in your sewing process.
And after you've been sewing for a while, you don't need to pin like as much because you could just
yeah,
feel
you can
it.
kind of adjust as you go.
Yeah, but if you're starting out, definitely pin.
This makes a big block, so it goes together fairly quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this quilt. And this is our lap size. We have our pattern on the Twisted 9 goes all the way up to a king.
There you go.
All right. So now we're going to iron those rows that we just sewed, and we're going to iron it to the print. All right, so looks pretty good. So this is called a 9 patch.
These types of quilts are really fun.
Yeah.
I just always love how they look harder than what they really were. So people
Yeah.
look at it, they're like, oh my gosh, and they're so impressed. And you're like, if only you knew how easy this was, you would not be nearly as
Got
impressed.
caught on the quilt. All right. So now we are actually going to square things up a little bit. So we want this block to be, ideally it should be 17 by 17. So we've got 17 inches going this way, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 17 is at this line right here. Do you see how we're just a little bit short?
Like a 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch, and we want this block to be square. So we are actually going to take off 1/4 of an inch.
On every square.
Yep. So on every square,
From here on out, like every 9 patch.
yeah, and this is common to do this kind of stuff. You just kind of adjust it. You just want to make sure that all your blocks are the same size. So if you end up squaring up one, you want to square up all of them. So here again, we're just using the lines on the mat and the lines to make sure our block is even along all the lines to keep it square. And we are just trimming off. And it's okay if it's off one end and not the other, because you won't be able to tell in this quilt.
Here's
All
the
right.
fun part.
So what I am going to do is I'm going to center it in this 17-inch square. It just makes it number with calculating things. And if this side is a little wonky, just come in here and even it up. Because trust me, you want, see how that overhangs just a little bit? You want things to be squared.
Yeah.
It will make it all go together.
I'll go to better.
All go together much better. All right, so if you can tell, this is the 17-inch square on these lines right here. So I centered this on the 17-inch square, so there's a little bit around all the edges. It's about the same. So I'm going to cut this in half this way, and I'm going to cut it in half this way. So 8.5 inches would be the half mark. So I'm going to come here at 8.5 here, and 8.5 on the other side. Make sure it's all correct, and we are going to cut it in half. And then we're going to turn around and do the same thing this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. And use your ruler marks. This is the half mark right here on this inch. So this is the inch mark. And that line is the half. So make sure it's all lined up. And we have tutorials on cutting. So
Yeah.
check that out if you need more help with cutting. So this way is going to go in half. Okay, this is the fun part.
This is where it gets twisted.
All right, so we've got now 4 blocks that measure. They were supposed to be 8.5. We cut ours down just a tiny bit. So as long as they're all equal, it's fine. So we're going to twist. This is where the twisted 9 comes in. We're going to twist this one way. We're going to twist this. So they're all getting twisted clockwise. This gets twisted, and this gets twisted. And that just created this block right here. So that block is this right here. So now we're just going to sew it back together. So put right sides together. There you go. Make sure those are lined up good. And there's that one.
This side?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay. I was just double check. Looks great. So now we're going to go iron it. Okay, so now that we've got the block this way sewn, we need to get these 2 rows ready. So just remember, whenever you press a seam for this quilt, you always go to the print side. So here's the seam and here's the big print. So always go to the print side. So we are just going to Get this right here. I think the iron turned off. It did, that little stinker. All right, so this one, here's the seam, and here's the print. So we're going to iron to the print side. And I didn't set the seam first. You really should go like this. I get too excited. So set the seam and then press it. I get so excited in these videos because it's just so much fun that sometimes I forget these little steps. Okay, so now lay it back out like that. It all looks great. You're gonna flip right sides together, and you wanna make sure those middle seams are nested. I would go ahead and throw a little pin in that because you want that to stay nested together. And then I always just kind of look to see how these edges line up. If it needs to be adjusted just a tiny bit, you can kind of do that right here. But you still want to keep them nested. Alrighty?
Thank you, Mother.
You're welcome. See how quick this goes together? So once you get your blocks done as your 9 patch, it goes together super fast.
And the blocks are big, and so
Yeah.
it might be a lot of work to get like one of the blocks done, but because the blocks are so big and just take up so much real estate, I guess, then it's really not that bad.
All right, so let's go. I keep thinking I'm going to trip on this cord. All right, so here again, this is the seam that we just sewed, and it doesn't matter which way you press this one. So you can just pick a direction. Let's just kind of press that down. All right, then I like to just give the little block one more little press. To me, it's kind of a boxed pinwheel is what I would call that center little spot. All right.
Oh, it looks really good, Mom.
So after this point, there is one more step. Scoot your toots over. We got one more step.
Oh, okay. Just squaring it up again?
Yep. We want to square it up to 16 inches. So I actually like to come up on the mat so I can see better. But see this center line right here? You want to make sure that that's at the same marking here and here. So right here I've got it at 9, and right here I've got it at 9. That'll help keep it straight. And these seams are matched too. This one's on the 14 and this one's on the 14. So we want to square it up to, this one is going to square up to 16. You know, you just have to kind of sew yours together and see where yours ends up. But it would be somewhere around 16 or maybe 16 and a quarter. So we are just going to trim all of these edges. And this is important because you want all of these blocks to be the same size, and it will go together perfectly.
Yeah, in the end, it is definitely worth
Yeah,
it. It
so
can kind of make
square
or
these
break.
up. And if you want to even sew all your blocks and then measure them.
There's a fly. There's a fly on you.
Ooh, get that fly
I'm
off.
trying. It's on your tushy.
Ooh, tushy.
Go away.
And that's a good idea too. If you just sew all these blocks together and then measure some might end up being a little bit smaller than others. You always want to square it to the smallest size. So there you go. So you've got this little block that would fit right there. So that's all that's to
Yeah.
this quilt. This is the main thing right here. So now you know how to put your twisted 9 block together. And the bigger the quilt, the more of these little babies you sew together. Anything you want to add?
Happy quilting.
Happy quilting, everybody.